Why do I need a startup advisor? How can I get the best from my startup advisors? These are some hot topics, questions that have been asked recently, and I thought, hey, why not answer them live on this show today? In fact, in this episode, I even got something a little bit different, a little bit special. Whilst preparing for this episode, I actually thought, what kind of gifts can I give to my audience? And more importantly, how can I also talk about one aspect that a lot of people might not really consider when they are looking for startup advisor? And that's regarding onboarding, working with them, and making sure that you hit the relationship at a very high level and they can start providing values to you, to your startups as soon as possible, and in a way that doesn't cost you a lot of work. Welcome to the Mary Poppins of Startups live show. I'm Naily Makangu from Athena Leaders. As a tech consultant and startup advisor, I will answer live the burning question that you have on your way to Series A+. Subscribe and tune in every week where we discuss awesome topics that can help you grow. We bring on amazing guests, startup founders, investors, and more. More importantly, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Startup advisors, do we need them? Don't we need them? Of course, I'm sure that you agree. Yes, we want to work with startup advisors. What burning questions do you have at the moment when it comes to not just advisors, but how you're going to work with them? I would suggest that you take a pen and paper because I'm going to work through quite a lot of things with you today. And if there's a question that you might be thinking about and thinking, I'm not really sure how to do one of the things that Naily mentioned during this episode, then get in touch with me anywhere you can find me on social media, hashtag Athena Leaders, and I will get back to you. The first thing we're going to look at is how a startup advisor can add a lot of value to your startup. Startup advisors are a great asset to startups, and sometimes it might not always be clear how they can help you. The first question that I get, especially from people who are very new to the startup world, is how many advisors do I need? Well, it depends on what is it that you worry about. As a startup founder, you know that you juggle a lot of different hats. Whether today you are looking at marketing, you're looking at sales, getting your first few clients, product market fit, even thinking about the technology, the tech stack, whether you're going to use low code or any other way you can build your prototype. As your product is growing, we're looking at the diversification, new market, and so much more. You might not be an expert in all of these areas. You might be good, you have your strengths, but you also have your weaknesses. Startup advisors are a great way to help you to plug in the gaps that you have in your startups. Yes, in that way, it's very normal to have more than one advisor as your company grows. The second thing to look at when we're thinking about how they can bring values and why do we need them is thinking a little bit about the strategy aspects of growing your startups. Now, one thing that's clear, whether you are at a very early stage or as you are growing, your challenges will vary. And sometimes you can even get to the point where you have the people, whether they are working directly for your company or they are external contractors, but you do have the people that can help you execute on your plans, actually the day-to-day working, the grind and something like that. Where you might find a gap, though, is in the concept, right? Is really coming up with the ideas or the strategy, talking to someone to help you define the strategies. And this is where startup advisors are very handy. A lot of startups, for example, might not have the budgets to hire a product manager or a CTO from the start, but they can have a product consultant or a product advisor or a tech advisor. And in fact, one of the things that I see as well when a startup is probably starting, you have your product and you want to start launching, there are some building blocks that you end up facing. Do you have what you need to launch your product to your clients? right? So if you are struggling when it comes to launching products or working with the team to improve processes and make you more efficient, then you might want to bring in an advisor that has experience in scaling, growing, and helping you with this aspect of delivering to customers and also to launch your products. In fact, if you believe that you are in this state right now, I also have another gift for you. I did warn you, this episode will be full of gifts. I would suggest that you watch episode 37 on our podcast. Why your product has not launched, Secrets from a Startup Advisors. That will really, really help you get unblocked. Or if you are getting close to starting to struggle, especially with your teams and the communication is not great, or you don't have the right processes to launch your projects or your products, then you might want to watch this episode. And the last reason or the last reason why you might want to work with startups is because it's very lonely at the top. This is something that we hear a lot. Sometimes when you think about Startup Advisor, we look a lot at the technical skills that they bring. There's also an added value in different ways you can engage with a Startup Advisor. A bit more of a coach or a mentor. In fact, if you like it, right, this is something I do for the startups I work with. You can have startup advisors that can cross around boundaries. For example, I do leadership, products, technology, and also this mental aspect, the mindset that you need as a founder. As a founder, you are sometimes in a position where you might not be able to talk about all of the noise that going into your head, all of your worries. Yes, you have co-workings, you have friends, you have business partners, you have family, private partners, or whatever it is. There are times where you want to talk to someone that will not judge you, someone that can empathize with you, and that can give you that space where you can just offload and start unpicking your challenges so that you can come to a great solution for you, for your startup, and more importantly, for your mental health. This, if you don't really do that, or you don't have anybody you can talk to, then think a little bit about bringing this aspect into your advisory board. Who can help you to really help you with your mindset, your mental health, and a sounding board that you can speak to. So these were some ways that you can work with a startup advisor, how they can bring values in your startup. So far, how are you finding this? If you're enjoying this, I would suggest that you share this episode with other startup founders out there so that they can also start thinking a little bit about how they can bring the help that they need to move forward. The way I see startup advisory is, for me, the most important aspect of it is knowing that you are not alone. You can discuss, you can work on the strategy with someone, and that person will hold your hand as you are navigating the different stages of your startup. Say another question that I get asked a lot. When do you need a startup advisor? Excellent question. You need a startup advisor, well, throughout the entire journey of your startup. And in fact, one of the misconceptions that people have is that you have to get an advisor and stay with them for the entire journey. You need advisors that are specialized in different skill sets, and sometimes the needs that you have will vary as you grow. So don't feel like, you start with an advisor today and 2 or 3 years later, you still have to continue with that one. It's perfectly okay to change based on what you need at the moment. In fact, one of the things that I will recommend to startups and early founders, especially very, very early days, is to get an advisor or someone who has an experience in entrepreneurship and startups to guide you. Early this year, I worked with a woman who were thinking a little bit about starting something. She knew she wanted to put together her own startups. She had ideas and started crafting experiments and how she was going to reach product market fit and whether she even had a great product. Unfortunately, things didn't go exactly the way she planned and she felt stuck. So we worked together. I was her advisor for a few months. And whilst working together, we really started tackling everything from the limiting beliefs, from the mindset, all the way to what is it that you exactly want? What kind of startup? What is the market? What field? What technology? excites you? What are your weaknesses, so that we can put together a strong case for her to first continue, because I knew that she was born and made to be a startup founder. We need to make it happen with her. Equally, we also started looking at opportunities that are out there so that she can start her first journey as a startup advisor. Whilst working together, we finally managed to find the right accelerator for her to join. She was accepted in a very good accelerator. And cutting a long story short, she has now started or co-founded a startup in the area that she really, really wanted, with the role that she wanted, and she's very happy at the moment. So you might think that, oof, I'm a very, very early stage of my startup. I don't have a product. Why would I want to work with startup advisors? Well, this is one of the reasons, to help you navigate the first stages as you are setting up, whether it's your ideas, whether it's your market, or more. The second thing, where I always advise people, especially early stage startup founders, to think a little bit about what happened when you get to the end of an accelerator. When you join an accelerator program, sometimes you do get a lot of support. They might have their mentors there, advisors, and a lot of people to help you. Bear in mind that the support will end, whether it is an accelerator for 6 months or more. There is a time where the program is over, and I wouldn't say that you are on your own, but the level of support that you used to get from them will change. You might be part of a community afterwards. You might still link up with the people running the accelerator once a month. But a great idea is to build your own support network, build your own startup advisor, so that they can grow and continue to support you on the journey. You don't want to let go straight away and go cold turkey. A great advice that I would like, or a great gift I would like to give to you, is to start thinking about your startup advisors and what it should look like, and start the conversations whilst you are still in the accelerator. Even if you don't engage with them until you finish, but at least it makes sure that you are transitioning much more smoothly, and that you are continuing with the momentum that you gain whilst you were part of the accelerator. So yes, that's something, again, very, very important. Bear in mind that accelerator programs do come to an end. Who are you going to need as an advisor, and how you can start working with them early to continue being as productive as you were when you had the support in the accelerator. The last stage is, of course, as your startup is growing, as I've already mentioned, you'll need changes. And yes, you also need advisors to help you. Sometimes it might move from just the product aspect and move more into the people aspects, right? So one of the questions I get, especially startup that are a little bit more established, is how do I make sure that my people are happy? How do we make sure that we maintain the culture that we had when we first started? Oh, we started remote and now we think we might have a head office. What does it look like, and how is going to affect the way that we work together, affect our workplace playground, affect our productivity? In fact, if you are struggling in that aspect and you want a little bit more help, and you're thinking, ooh, my people are not very happy, well, here's another gift for you. Check out episode 36, why your people are not happy, secrets from a startup advisor. We're now going to look at the final question, how to find a great advisor for a startup. And then, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to share with you even a bigger gift, right? How do you find a startup advisor? Well, the first thing I would say is to think a little bit about what is that you need for yourself and for your startup first, and then you can go and find them. Yes, you could bump into someone that tells you, I'm a startup advisor, but is that the right advisor for you? If you are not aware of your needs, how are you going to do that? I would suggest that you look into your values. What are the values of your company? What are the visions, and what are the goals? Answer those 3 main questions, and that will help you to make sure that whenever you are speaking to someone, that person can help you deliver on your goals whilst bearing in mind your values and being excited about your vision. Know your struggles, your pain points, and more. In fact, if you wanted to find out more, I've created an amazing gift, a 6-step process just for you to help you find and onboard your startup advisors. That document will go into a lot more details. It will complement what you have said today and even go into a lot more details that are very, straight to the point, checklist, no faffing around, and that will help you to plan first before you go out there and start looking for your startup advisor. Number 2, where do you find them? That one is really, really exciting. How do you find, where do you find a startup advisor? Well, first, your network. Like I always said, the people you know can help you find other people, the people who are connected. Look into your network, ask questions. The second one, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is fantastic in a way, in terms of finding startup advisor. Twitter as well, especially if you're in a tech space, is used quite a lot. When you are looking for advisors as well, you might want to also check their style. What kind of content they put out there? What is it that they focus on or they specialize in? If they have a podcast, such as myself, that is great because, first of all, there's a lot of free content that you can use and tap it directly. It is a great way for you to assess their knowledge and start to build a relationship with them, so that when you engage them, you kind of have a feeling that you already know them and you know exactly what you want to look out for. So yes, the more you find advisors that have content out there, the great it is for you when you are first starting out as well. And thank you for the comment that we got today. Keep going, from Chantal Kudia. And yes, thank you very much. If there's anybody out there who wants to kind of put a comment, any questions, you know where to find me, whether live or afterwards on hashtag Athena Leaders. In a way, when we look at where to find the startups, of the startup advisors, one of the other questions that, again, not many people think about is, how do you nurture or grow the relationship, right? It's great to go on those platforms, but sometimes you can be overwhelmed with a lot of people. How do you start getting to know them, especially if it's not an urgent need and you really want to make sure that you bring the right person on board? I did warn you that this episode will be full of gifts, full of secrets and tips that I can share with you in addition to the content I'm sharing with you in this episode. I would suggest that you go and watch episode number 32, How to Build a Startup Founding Team. That episode focused on the startup founding team, how to build them, but whilst we were talking into that, I went into a lot of details on some of the tips that I use myself when growing my business, or what I use when working with other startups to grow their businesses. That was really about nurturing contacts, nurturing the key people, and how do you keep them engaged if you might not be able to work with them. To finish off on this part, one more thing to bear in mind. When you are working with startup advisors, how do you want to structure the relationships? Are you going to pay them by equity? And what does it mean for you? If you're going to give them a share of your company, whether it's in addition in addition to other pays way of payments or not, then think a bit about the commitment level that you are going to give to them, and that is very clear that you both understand exactly how involved your advisor will be and how does it work. And number 2, if you decide to go just, you're going to pay them, which is, again, perfectly fine, you just still need to know exactly what commitment level you are, how it's going to work for you and for your startup. So it's really good to also have those in mind when you are looking for the right advisor for your startup. We are now at the exciting part of today's session. So far, most of the things that I've said before will maybe sound like something you've heard before, but this part is the bit where I think is really, really new, where most of the key tips and the secret, the gift is really going to shine. Bear in mind with me. My secrets to getting the most of your startup advisors. Now, yes, you know your values, you've gone out there, you find the right person. But where I find a lot of startups struggle is when they have to start working with advisors. Remember that as a founder, you are extremely busy, right? I know that experience. Anybody that you bring in your company, whether to work directly with you or as a contractor, will spend some time trying to understand you, and that takes a lot of time. You want advisors, that's great, but are they going to become a clutch, something that stops you from moving forward as quickly as you wanted to? If that's what you worry about, I'm going to share with you my gift, the secrets that I share with other startups out there that can really, really help you to simplify this process. Remember, bringing on a startup advisors is not something that you do just once. It's something that you will do a few times as you are growing, and especially at the beginning. How do you make sure that the process is simplified and is actually very exciting? I've put together a gift for you, and we are going to put the link in the show notes. If it's not there, come back and check in a couple of days, and I'm sure it's definitely going to be there. But I've put a document that can help you onboard your startup advisor. And one of the key things for me is the discovery phase, right? You're thinking, discovery phase? Well, yes. Let's take a step back. Bringing on board a startup advisor is very similar to starting an engagement with a consultant or a contractor or other member of your team. When you have new clients, even, or other people working for you, you spend time to onboard them. And depending on the maturity of your company, you might even have processes to help onboard your clients, onboard other people that you're working with. But why don't you think about doing the same for your startup advisors? Create the process of onboarding once, which means that every single time you have to work with them, your life is much simpler. The discovery phase is a great way of doing that. When you work with new clients or you're working with people coming in your other contractors for your company, the discovery phase really helps you to pull together all the information that you need to start moving forward, to understand the scope and to set up the working relationship with the person you're working with. But why don't we think about doing that when we work with startup advisors? I highly recommend that you think about creating scheduling a discovery phase process that helps you and your startup advisors to really coordinate and work well together. They will understand your startup in depth much quicker than trying to do it slowly over a period of time. I would rather have a workshop that you'll structure exactly the same as you would have structured that if you're doing it for a client or you're doing it because you're bringing in a contractor in your company. Bearing in mind that startup advisors have a lot of experience, and giving them as much information as they need upfront can help you unlock key secrets, advice, or things that you might need even during that discovery call, as this is what happens when I do that with my clients. And this win that you will have, very quick win, is something that you can put in practice in your company from day one or even day 0.5 of working with your startup advisors and beyond. So why wait 2, 3, 4 weeks of having 30 minutes calls when you can start by having a proper discovery phase, take them through your company, set them loose so that they can use the goodness or the experience and they can bring that in your company. This was my secrets to you. And if you want to find out the small documents that I've put together that can really, really help you to find advisors and, more importantly, to maximize how useful they are going to be to you, to simplify your life through the processes that I've defined so that you know exactly how you are going to onboard them quickly, work with them more efficiently, then I suggest that you download the free gift that we have for you right now. If you can't find it, you're a bit lost, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Find me on social media. I always respond, whether it's a private message or you just tag me in a post, and I'll be more than happy to engage with you and give you more. How did you find this? If you found this episode really useful, whether for you or someone that you know is in the startup world, I will suggest that you get in touch with them and share this and grow. We are growing our channels. We have a lot more people following us, and we are really excited about creating this community and space for all startup founders out there. So please support our mission by liking our videos, sharing this video, and sharing our channels. Any questions? Yes, I've proven that I answer live. So feel free to ask me. Happy to answer you on whatever platform you find me. And if there's more that I would like to say, more gifts I would like to give, I will make sure to do it live. In the meantime, let's design a happy and productive workplace playground together.